Hi everyone! In this video, I will discuss about the features of small groups and patterns of group communication. Let's get started. There are several features of small groups which I will discuss with regards to cohesion, group size, power structure, interaction patterns, and group norms. The first feature of small groups is cohesion. Cohesion is the degree of closeness, esprit de corps, and group identity. Highly cohesive group increases member satisfaction toward a group, productivity, as well as commitment to a group and the common goals. There are several ways to foster group cohesion. First is by encouraging group members to engage in conversations that emphasize the common objectives of all members. Second, it is also important to communicate about similarities among group members instead of focusing on the differences between each other. Third, expressing affection, respect, and inclusion in any single communication possible between group members is also effective in improving group cohesiveness. Cohesion and participation influence each other reciprocally. In this case, cohesion is improved when all members participate, and at the same time, members' participation increases the more cohesive the group is. Although, as we have seen that cohesion is important for group communication, overly strong cohesion may actually undermine a sound group work. When group members are extremely too close, they may be less willing to criticize and evaluate each other's ideas. Thus, an extremely cohesive group may fall into a phenomenon called the groupthink. This is when members may cease to think critically and independently about ideas generated by the group. Consequently, they are less careful in evaluating ideas generated in the group, which may result in less satisfying group outcomes. Next, regarding group size. The number of people in a group affects the amount of communication. Too few or too many members in a group may result in lowering the group performance. With too few members, a group has limited resources. On the other hand, with too many members, the contribution of each individual member may also be less. Here, most scholars have agreed that 5 to 7 members is the ideal size for a small group to achieve the best performance. The third feature of small group is power structure. Power is the ability to influence others. There are two kinds of power. Power over is the ability to help or harm others, while power to is the ability to empower others to reach their goals. The power structure of a group refers to the distribution of power among various members. Unsurprisingly, there is a link between individuals and group power structures with participation levels. The members with a strong or high power tends to be the center of group communication, and they also have greater influence in making group decisions. In terms of power structure, the social climbing phenomenon is also possible to occur. Social climbing occurs when someone tries to increase their position within the group by winning the acceptance of the high-status members. Power not only influences communication but also is influenced by communication. This means that the ability to communicate will affect the level of trust and power within the group. Another important feature of small groups is the group's interaction pattern. Some groups are centralized, that is when one or two people hold the key positions. Hence, communication pattern here will be hierarchical. Other groups have decentralized patterns. Here, communication is more balanced and thus more satisfying to everyone. The power structure of the group often affects interaction patterns. If one or two members have greater power than others, a centralized pattern interaction is likely to emerge. In contrast, when members have relatively equal power, then decentralized patterns would be more likely to arise. Lastly, the small group feature that affects communication is norms. Norms are standardized guidelines that regulate how members act and how they interact with each other. Group norms regulate all aspects of a group's life, from the trivial to the critical. Norms grow directly out of interaction. For example, at a group's initial meeting, one person might dismiss another's idea as unimportant, and several members might not pay attention when others are speaking, perhaps by playing with their gadgets when the meeting takes place. If this continues, a norm of disrespect will develop within the group. It is very important to pay attention to the norms from the start of the group is being formed. By noticing different patterns and tendencies, group members may be able to influence the rules that govern the conduct of members in a group. There are 4 types of communication in groups that include task, climate, procedural, and egocentric communications. Task communication focuses on the problems, issues, or information before a group. Procedural communication puts emphasis in establishing the agenda, getting organized, and stay on track in its decision-making processes. The climate communication focuses on creating and maintaining a constructive climate that encourages members to contribute cooperatively and evaluate ideas critically. These 3 types of group communications are considered constructive because they foster good group process and outcomes. On the other hand, the egocentric communication or dysfunctional communication is used to block others or to call attention to oneself. There are 4 common methods of group decision-making. Each method involves distinct communication styles and has particular strengths and limitations. In consensus, all members of a group express their ideas and agree on a decision. The strength of the consensus method is that it involves all members so that it receives greater support and increases cohesion at the same time. However, the greatest disadvantage of this method is the time taken to hear all opinions and reach to an agreement. Voting is done when decision is made based on the support of a certain number of group members. This method is very efficient, but it has the potential to foster dissatisfaction and reduce group cohesion. In the compromise method, members work out a solution that satisfies each person's minimum criteria but may not fully satisfy all members. Sometimes compromise results in an effective decision that combines the strong points advocated by different members. However, the decisions often are less coherent than decisions made by consensus. When using authority rule, an individual or group with power tells a group what to do, and the group ratifies the authority's decision. The advantages of this method include efficiency, of course, because it is much less time-consuming. On the other hand, it can generate resentment in members. It also undermines the potential of group discussion to result in a better decision, and it also undermines the strengths of each of the individual members of the group. To be able to work and communicate efficiently, it is important for a group to stay organized. Therefore, it is suggested that the group follows these 7 steps in organizing group discussion. First, define the problem. In this stage, the group may clarify the focus of the discussion. The problem or issue to be discussed should first be identified, and all members should put the same value on the problem being discussed. Second, analyze the issues. The focus on this stage is gathering and analyzing information about the issues confronting a group. Third, establish the solution criteria. Criteria are standards members use to evaluate alternative solutions or decisions. It is important to have clear criteria before considering solutions so that members can evaluate the alternative solutions later using these criteria. Fourth, generate solutions. Here, the group's focus turns to generating possible decisions. Brainstorming may be used in this stage to generate solutions. Fifth, evaluate solutions. Once a good list of solutions have been developed, the group can evaluate each solution based on the established criteria. 6. Choose and implement the best decision. Implementation may involve announcing its decision. It may also involve writing a formal report to the individual or body that initially charged the group. Lastly, the 7th, develop an action plan to monitor solution. This involves designating ways to assess the impact of a decision and ways to determine whether the decision achieves the intended result without creating any new problem. During discussion, it is also possible that a group falls into the phenomenon of group polarization. This is when the decision made by the group is more extreme than the initial inclination of its members. Often, group polarization leads to changing attitudes among individuals within the group. For example, the members who initially have a neutral opinion about an issue may be pulled toward the extreme disagreement or agreement after hearing others' views during a group discussion. Sometimes, conflict occurs during a group discussion. Group conflict can be disruptive. This occurs when disagreements interfere with the effective work and healthy communication climate of a group. Disruptive conflict harms group climate and lowering member satisfaction. Disruptive conflict results from communication that produces defensiveness and draws members' attention from collective concerns and goals. In contrast, constructive conflict occurs when members understand that disagreements are natural and can help them achieve their goals. This attitude is reflected in collaborative communication. Constructive conflict is most likely to occur when the appropriate groundwork has been established by creating a supportive and open climate. Alright, so that's it, our discussion on the communication in small group. I will see you again in the next video.